Okay, welcome back. This is going to be part 3 of the lesson, Rational Expressions, and we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing rationals. Okay, so basically the whole idea about multiplying and dividing rationals is that first of all, try to factor everybody. Okay, so here I have two rational expressions, so try to factor as much as you can on the top, on the bottom, top, and bottom. And then we'll worry about multiplying. So if we do that, remember we want the term with x in the front, so we're going to switch them around. This would be 3x plus 1. And can I factor anything? No, I can't, so we'll just leave it like that. How about the 2x here on the bottom? Can I do anything with that? The answer is no, so just bring it down. Now the next one, can I factor anything from 2x and 4? Yes, I can. I can factor out a 2, so this would be 2x minus 2 over, can I factor anything from these three terms? And the answer is no. Can I apply special factors? The answer is also no. So we're going to do the long way, which is 3 times 1 is 3. What numbers give me 3? It would be 1 and 3. And that's it. Now I'm on a 2 in the middle, so that will work. And since the 2 is a negative, the biggest digit will be a negative. And then the 1 here would have to be a positive. And a negative times a positive is a negative, so that means this will work. So let me copy this over here on the side. 3x squared minus 2x minus 1, and we're going to copy the first term, but we're going to split the second term with the numbers we chose. So 1x minus 3x, and let's bring down the negative 1. Now let's factor the first two and the last two. From the first two I can factor out an x, so this would be 3x plus 1. Bring down the negative. What can I factor from 3x and minus 1? It would be a 1. So that gives me 3x plus 1. And what can I factor from both? I can factor 3x plus 1, x minus 1. Alright, so now we're going to come back here and write that over here. And x minus 1. Alright, now that we factor everything, so if you notice we factor the top, the bottom, the top, and the bottom. Now let's go ahead and cancel. I can cancel 3x plus 1. I can cancel the 2 over here. And I believe that's all we can cancel. So on the top, I'm left with x minus 2. And on the bottom is x minus 1. And that's it. This is the result of multiplying these two fractions. And we also made sure to write in the simplest form. Okay, let's go on to the next problem. Just give me a moment here. Alright, very well. In this one, let's go ahead and try to factor. And if I notice, this is a special factor. So this would be x minus 1, because the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 1 is 1. And then this would be, you take the first one raised to the square, so x squared, plus 1x, or just x. And then you take the second one raised to the square, it would be plus 1. Very well. On the bottom one, what can I factor over here? I can factor out a negative 3. So that means this will become 3x divided by negative 3 is x. And 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. Very well. Then on the top, there's nothing really I can do. So I'm just going to bring it down. On the bottom here, this is a special factor. So let's do the test. 2 times the square root of the first is x. The square root of the last would be 1. So 2 times x times 1 is 2x. Gives you a 2x, but it's not equal to the middle term, so I cannot use special factor. So let's try the multiplication. 1 times 1 is 1. What numbers give me 1? 1 and 1. Would 1 and 1 give me x? The answer is no. So basically I cannot factor this, so I'm going to just copy this down. Alright. Now that I factor top and bottom, I'm ready to cancel. Okay, so we see that this trinomial cancels with this trinomial. X minus 1 cancels with x minus 1. 15 cancels with negative 3. 3 goes into negative 3 negative 1 time. And 3 goes into 15 3 times. So on the top, I'm going to get 3x squared. And on the bottom, I get negative 1. So 3x squared divided by negative 1 is negative 3 x squared. And that's my answer there. Alright, very well. Let's go on to the next one. Alright. Here now we have division. Okay, first of all, don't worry about the division at first. Let's do the factoring first. So if I factor, there's nothing I can factor with 8x squared, so we're just going to copy 8x squared. On the bottom here, I'm going to factor out a 3. So this would be, hold on a second here. Give us some space here. Because, so let's copy this right over here. 8x squared. Now the bottom one here, I can factor out a 3. So this would be x squared minus 4. And x squared minus 4 is x minus 2, x plus 2. Alright, so this would be 3, x minus 2, x plus 2. Alright, then we're going to copy, and there's nothing I can do with the 40, so just write 40. In the second one here, we can switch them around, so this would become negative x plus 2. And remember, we don't like to have the negative in the front, so we're going to factor it. So this will become x minus 2. Very good. Now, how do we do division of fractions? Basically, you copy the first term. So here we are copying it. Now we're going to change the division sign 2 times. And we're going to flip the second term. So this would be negative x minus 2 and over 40. Alright, so now we're going to cancel. I noticed that 40 cancels with 8 because 8 goes into 40. 8 goes into 8 one time, 8 goes into 40 5 times. I also can cancel the x minus 2. And I believe that's all we can do. So on the top, I'm going to get negative x squared. And on the bottom, I have 3 times 5 is 15. And I also have x plus 2. So that is my answer. Very good. Alright, let's continuing on to the next problem. The next problem is going to take a little bit of work because there's a lot of trinomials here. Okay. Hopefully we'll have something that is a perfect square. But let's see. Okay, my strategy here is I'm going to copy the trinomial on the top there. And can I factor anything from all 3? And the answer is no. So I'm going to multiply 18 times 2 is 36. And what can I factor from 30? What numbers give me 36? 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and 6 and 6. And I'm looking for a 9, so 12 and 3 will give me a 9. The 12 would have to be positive because 9 is positive. and so that means the 3 has to be negative because 12 minus 3 is 9. Now a positive times a negative gives me a negative. Yes, it does. So I copy the first term, split the middle term as negative 3y, positive 12y, and bring down the negative 2. Now let's factor by grouping. What can I factor from these two? I can factor a 3y. So that means this will give me 6y minus 1. And what can I factor from the last two? I can factor out a 2. So this would be 6y minus 1. Now look at these two terms. What can I factor from both? I can factor out a 6y minus 1. And if I do that, I'm left with 3y plus 2. So that's my factorization for my first trinomial there. Alright, so let's draw a line right here. And let's do the next one here. So I'm going to write 3y squared plus 17y plus 10. Ask yourself, can I factor anything from all three? No. Can I use special factors? No. So that means I'm going to do 3 times 10. Alright, so let's find some space here. Let's use the space here. 3 times 10 is 30. What numbers give me 30? 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. That's it. I'm looking for 17. And 15 and 2 give me 17. 17 is positive. So that means 15 has to be positive, and so does the 2. Final check. A positive times a positive. Does it give me a positive? Yes, it does. So let's go over here. Bring down the 3y squared. Let's split the 17y as positive 2y plus 15y plus 10. Alright, now let's factor the first two, or group the first two. So I'm going to get y, because that's the only thing that goes into both terms. So that leaves me 3y plus 2. And what can I factor from the last two? I can factor out of 5. So this would be 3y plus 2. Very good. So now, what can I factor from both? I can factor 3y plus 2. And y plus 5 is left. Alright, so we factored the second one. Now let's continue on and let's factor the bottom ones. So let me copy over here. 24y squared minus 10y plus 1, and we have 8y squared plus 18y minus 5. Alright, this one right here, can I factor anything from all three? No, I can't. Can I use special factors? No, I can't either. So we have to multiply. 24 times 1 is 24. What numbers give me 24? 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and I believe that's it. I'm looking for something that gives me a 10. 6 and 4 gives me a 10, and 2 and 12 give me a 10. Alright, so that means I need to look at the sign in the middle. So that means the biggest digit has to be negative. And if that is so that means the 4 over here would have to be negative to give me a negative 10. And the 2 would have to be a positive. So the final check is going to come down to this. Which one gives me a positive? When I multiply, a negative times a negative gives me a positive. But a negative and a positive does not give me a positive. So that means I'm going to use negative 4, negative 6. So copy 24y squared. Split the 10 as negative 4y minus 6y bring down the positive 1. Alright. Now what can I factor from the first two? I can factor 4y. So that means that leaves me 6y minus 1. And what can I factor from the last two? I can factor a negative 1. So that leaves me 6y minus 1. So what's my final answer here? It would be 6y minus 1. Parentheses 4y minus 1. Alright. Let's continuing on. And the next one, 8 and 5. There's nothing I can factor from all three. There's no perfect squares that I can use, so it'll be 8 times 5 equals 40. What numbers give me 40? 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, 5 and 8, and I believe that's it. And I'm looking for something that gives me 18. The only thing is 2 and 20. So that means the 20 would have to be positive, and the 2 would have to be a negative. 20 has to be positive because the middle one is positive, and the 2 has to be negative because 20 minus 2 gives me an 18. Final check. A positive times a negative gives me a negative. Yes, it does. So I'm okay. Copy the first term. Split the middle term as negative 2y plus 20y. Copy the last term. Alright. Now we're going to group them. So this would be 2y. So this would be 4y minus 1. And what can I factor from the last two? I can factor out of 5. So this would be 4y minus 1. And what do they have in common? 4y minus 1. And what's left? 2y plus 5. Alright. So basically, as you can see, we took this here and we factored the ones on top and the ones on the bottom. Now we're ready to rewrite this. So we're going to do 6y minus 1, 3y plus 2 over 6y minus 1, 4y minus 1. And we're dividing by 3y plus 2, y plus 5 over 4y minus 1, 2y plus 5. So basically all I did is factor the top and the bottom, top and the bottom. Now, division of fractions. You copy the first term as it is. So I'm going to copy as it is. Okay, now we change the division sign to times, and we're going to flip the second term. So this would be 4y minus 1 and 2y plus 5 on top. It was on the bottom before, but now it comes to the top, and what's on top comes to the bottom. Alright, so now that we did all that, we're ready to cancel. So let the fun begin. We're going to cancel. Play Zorro. Cancel, cancel. 3y plus 2, cancel, cancel. 4y minus 1, 4y minus 1, cancel, cancel. And basically I'm left with, I'm just checking something here. I'm only left with that. So that means my final answer is 2y plus 5 and y plus 5. I was checking if, did I forget a 2 there? So I was double checking over here. But if you notice, I factor out a y and a 5, and it's y plus 5, so this is correct. So yes, these two are different, so I cannot cancel because he's missing a 2 there. So this will be my final answer. You can put parentheses, or you can leave the parentheses out. It's up to you. Okay? Wow, this one was a lot of work, huh? But we were able to reduce and we were able to divide and reduce these to this final answer right there. Alright? Very well. Alright, now we come down to our last example of the lesson. So, here we go. Alright, so again, always factor first, and then worry about canceling later. Okay? So if I look at this problem right here, and you know, yeah, that's fine. The first one, I noticed that this is going to be a special. I thought it was going to be a special factor, but no, it's not a special factor because this is not a perfect square. So that means we just leave it like that. Alright, let's do the next one. The next one is going to be, what can I factor this? Is there a number that goes into all three terms? No, there isn't. Can I use special factors? Yes. This is a perfect square. This is a perfect square. Let's do the final check here. The square root of the first is x. Square root of the last is 5. 2 times x times 5 is 10x. So that means I can use that, which is x, right, copy the first, plus the last, raised to the square. Okay? Now remember, I can rewrite this as x plus 5 times x plus 5. So let's erase that. Another reason to use eraser and pencil. So this would be x plus 5 times x plus 5. Alright. Good. On the top there, I'm going to factor out the 3. So this would be x plus 5. On the bottom, it stays as 4x. Alright. On the top, can I factor this? There's nothing I can factor from all three. There's no special factor. So let's multiply. 1 times 10 is 10. What number gives me 10? 1 and 10. 2 and 5. Which one will give me a 3? The 2 and 5. So that means the 5 would have to be a negative. And to give me a negative 3, the 2 would have to be a positive. And a negative times a positive, does it give me a negative? Yes, it does. So that means this will become x plus 2, x minus 5. Alright. And now we're going to look at this guy. So this would be, what can I factor from both? I can factor the 3 and an x. So 3x squared divided by 3x is x. 6x divided by 3x is 2. Oops, missing the plus. Alright. Now, let's go ahead and change the division to a times. So let's copy this. So I'm copying everything here. But now when I get to the division, I'm going to change that to times. And I'm going to flip this last term over here. So this would be 3x, x plus 2. And here it would be x plus 2, x minus 5. Alright, so time to cancel things. So let the fun begins. So the x plus 5 cancel. I can cancel this x right here with this x right there. X plus 2 cancel. And I'm left with that. Okay. So on the top, I have 3 x squared minus 5. And on the bottom, I have x plus 5, x minus 5. And also have a 4, so let's copy the 4. But remember that x plus 5 times x minus 5 is the same as x squared minus 25. So it would be x squared minus 25. So that means this will be my answer right there. Okay? Alright. So that concludes the lesson for rational functions. And this was part 3, so we're done with the lesson for rational functions. Thank you very much for your time. and have a great day.